Hey all, there was a recent tragedy that almost all of you have probably heard about in Florida where a building collapsed. It was a tragedy. It killed a whole lot of people. It was in the news for a very long time. But what that did was that got me thinking about a principle that has become very important to me over the last few years, something that God has been speaking into me. And it's this whole idea, this principle of foundations. If a foundation for a building is faulty, it literally does not matter how good of materials you use in the rest of the building, how well the workmanship is accomplished, because if the foundation is faulty, eventually the building is in danger of falling down. When it comes to having a healthy soul, the spiritual principle is very much the same. If we have a faulty foundation, if who we are as a person is built on a faulty foundation, then our whole life, everything, the way we are doing things is always in danger of collapsing down. And so what God has been speaking to me about for the past years has been this idea that the foundation for having a healthy soul, for approaching life, for living well, all formed around this idea of identity. And what I mean by identity, because you maybe heard this term before, the idea of identity is simply how do we view ourselves? What do I look at? When I see myself, when I think of what gives me value, what is it that determines that? That is my identity. Now, for a follower of Jesus, we know that he loves us not because of anything we've ever done or who we are. He loves us because of what his son has done and because of how he's created us. That's what gives us our value. It's who his son is, who Jesus is, and what Jesus has done that gives us all our value. And a lot of us know this. The problem is that we don't always live out of this. And if you look around you, you can see many people who build their lives on faulty foundations. These foundations, their lives crumble when these foundations are come under attack or questioned. And so we see this all the time, and we wonder about it. But to be honest, a lot of us live exactly the same way. The things that we know in our heads are true about who Jesus is and how God sees us isn't the truth that we're actually believing. There's actually lies underneath that we believe about ourselves. Now, I think there's three big lies that I've read about, that I've heard about, that I've experienced in my life, that one, two, or all of these lies form the genesis for a lot of our identity. And the three lies that I would call them would be this. One is the performance lie. The performance lie says that who I am, my value is actually attached to what I accomplish, to how I perform. This lie says that I am valuable when things go well, when I'm a success, but when I fail or when things don't go well or I don't accomplish, it diminishes my value in some way. Lots of people who are driven to accomplish things suffer from this lie. The second lie is the people-pleasing lie. And this is the lie that says my value, how I feel about myself, how important I am is all tied to how other people see me. Now, this could be how everybody sees you, or it could just be how certain people that you value their opinion, how they see you. This happens all the time. We see this in many, many different places. I suffer from this myself. And it results in trying to be a people pleaser, of trying to accomplish things. We run ourselves ragged, trying to make sure that everybody's cared for, everybody's happy, everybody's in a good place. We want to minimize all conflict, and it's exhausting. The third lie, in terms of identity, is this lie of control. And this one says that I'm only valuable, my identity is wrapped up in the fact that I can control things. I can control my life, I can control my circumstances, and ultimately I try to control the people and the relationships around me, which just leads to manipulation and all kinds of other problems. In each case, it builds a faulty foundation for our lives. Because when people don't like me, when I disappoint people, when I don't accomplish things, when life seems out of control, the entire thing falls in on itself. And I get upset and I get bothered and things seem hopeless, all because my foundation is in the wrong place. Well, next week, I want to talk a little bit about what do we do about that? What is the truths? These are lies that we believe, even when we know who Jesus is. So how do we deal with that? How do we combat that? But in the meantime, what I would encourage you this week, if you're watching this video, is to ask yourself some questions. Because you might think, oh, I don't believe any of that. I'm good. My identity is secure in who Jesus is. Well, let me ask you this. Consider some questions over the next week. Pay attention to what makes you defensive. What makes you defend yourself or feel like you have to justify yourself? That's often a window into a lie that you're believing. Think about your self-talk. What do you say to yourself about yourself? When you do something that isn't up to your expectations, how do you speak to yourself? I used to have incredibly negative self-talk, telling myself how I was useless or how stupid I was. Pay attention to those little voices that go along in your head. Pay attention to where you're petty. What irritates you about other people? What gets you upset about the people around you and what they do and what bothers you? Because that's often a sign of a lie in your identity. Hey, I hope that you think about these things. I believe this is foundational. And next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about what do we do when we find out that our foundation is faulty. But until then, have a great week. We'll talk to you next time.